The world of anatomy is incredibly fascinating, but what I found out is that most people have zero knowledge of their own bodies. They simply rely on medical professionals to take care of all of that. But I feel as if you're doing yourself a great disservice if you do not learn your own body for yourself. So stay tuned because I am all about showing and explaining the anatomy and physiology of the human body.
Hello all, and welcome to Chambers of Knowledge. I am your host and creator, Kiara J. Thank you so very much for tuning into my channel today. The goal of my channel is to encourage and educate non-medical personnel so they can become active participants in their healthcare. My content may also be useful or helpful for students and anyone interested in learning about the human body. So I've decided to kick off this channel with a video on medical terminology because medical terminology is the language of medicine in very much the same way that Spanish is the language of Ecuador. The medical language is used by medical professionals regardless of their area of study. This ensures that there are no or minimal miscommunications when discussing a patient's health. Medical terms are used to describe a plethora of things in the medical world, like diagnoses, body parts, medical techniques, diseases, procedures, and many more. My video here will give a brief explanation of the origins of medical terms, as well as the structure of the medical terms. The four origins of medical terminology include Greek and Latin, terms that are built from words or word parts in Greek or Latin. Eponyms, which are words named after physicians or scientists who play a major part in their discovery or development. You have acronyms, words that are formed from the first letter of other whole words, and then you have terms that are taken from modern English vocabulary. So some examples of terms that are taken from Greek and Latin are phobos, sperma, paranoia, also nucleus, sinus, and urina. These words were taken from Greek and Latin, and they were used in order for us to form medical terms that are associated with the meanings, like phobos meaning phobia or fear, sperma, the sperm, or paranoia, for examples. Now, our examples of eponyms are your fallopian tubes, which are a part of the female reproductive system. They were named after Gabriello Falloppio. You have your eustachian tubes, which are a structure. This is a structure in the inner ear. This was named after Bartolomeo Eustachi. You have Alzheimer's disease as well, which is a cognitive degenerative disease, or in plain English, a disease that breaks down the ability of the brain to function at its normal level. Now you have Raynaud's syndrome as well, which is a circulatory disease. Or again, in just plain old English, it is a disease that compromises the blood vessels, which cause a lack of blood to the extremities, which are your fingers and your toes. This often turns them blue. And your acronyms, you have AIDS, Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. This is a disease that severely compromises the immune system. Our immune system is in place in order to keep us healthy and fighting any pathogens or anything that may harm us. But with this particular syndrome, you have very minimal and oftentimes no defense against these harmful materials. The next example of an acronym is the BRAT diet. This is bread, rice, applesauce, and toast. This is a diet given to people who are experiencing diarrhea. This is used to help bind up the bowels and turn them into a solid. These right here are examples of terms taken from modern language. Nuclear medicine scanner, post-traumatic stress disorder, magnetic resonance image. These are words I would say that were not a part of Old English. These were concepts that were introduced through science later on and were added to the medical terminology in recent years. So now that we've gotten past that, we can talk about the structure of a medical term. All right, we have 3 parts of a medical term known as word parts. We have a prefix, a combining term or combining form, and a suffix. A prefix, just in plain old English, just the same as plain old English, is found at the beginning of a term. Each prefix has its own meaning. One prefix can have more than one meaning. The prefix can change the meaning of the entire medical term. A prefix can be one single letter or a group of letters. When written completely on its own, apart from the complete medical term, the prefix must end in a hyphen. For example, we have anti. It ended in a hyphen. Anti means against. You have hyper, which again ends in a hyphen as well. It's defined as above or more than normal. And in our term example, we have anti-hypertension. So using the definitions that we know, anti and hyper, we know that this is something that is against abnormally high something. And in this case, it is tension or pressure. And within the context that this is normally used in, it's normally talking about high blood pressure. So this is something that lowers high blood pressure. So now we have a combining form or a combining term. This often referred to as the root of the term. This gives the term its meaning, its full medical meaning. So not all medical terms or medical words contain combining forms. For example, you have words like nurse, doctor, or sterile, as in a sterile surface. These words do not have prefixes, suffixes, or combining forms. This is something that you will come to recognize through your journey or your interest in medical terminology. You'll be able to differentiate what words have prefixes, suffixes, combining forms, and what are the exceptions to the rules. Okay, so a combining form, you also can have 2 combining forms in one word. Now, when you are writing your combining form outside of the full medical term, you have to write it in a specific way. You have your root word, a forward slash, and then a combining vowel, followed by a hyphen. This identifies that we are dealing with a combining form. It just allows us to recognize exactly which word part we are referring to. So this is a great example of a term that can have 2 combining forms, because you also can have more than one combining form in a medical word, the same with prefixes. So here we have gastro, and see how it's written? You have your root, gaster, your forward slash, and your O, gastro, followed by a hyphen. This means stomach. Now you also have intestinal, which is written in the same exact form, meaning intestine. And when we put it all together with a suffix, we have gastrointestinal. Now this particular suffix means pertaining to. You'll see more on that in the next slide. But when you are looking at this term, gastrointestinal, in its full form, it means pertaining to the stomach and intestines. So here on suffixes. The rules for these are pretty much the same as what we've seen before, except this is found at the end. It also has its own meaning. Each word, can also have more than one meaning. It changes the medical meaning of the term, and a term can have more than one suffix. And when written outside of the full term, it must be preceded by a hyphen. As seen in the example, we have the example un, hyphen ION, which means action or condition. And then you have the suffix al, which, as we saw in the last slide, is defined as pertaining to. Now, when combined with the combining form nutri, you will see that this means pertaining to the action or condition of nourishment. And that is pretty much the end of our video here. As you all go along on your journeys to learning more about anatomy, physiology, and just the human body in general, you will see a lot more of these words. You'll become more familiar with them, and you will get a better understanding of how to use them and what they mean, especially when you see the words in context. So thank you very much for taking time out of your life to watch my content. I hope that you enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you're interested for more little tips and tricks and things like that about the human body, please follow us on Chambers of Knowledge. And since Chambers of Knowledge is a project and a baby of Multifaceted by KJC, I do hope that you check out my personal channel, Multifaceted by KJC. We also have a YouTube channel as well as an Instagram. So thank you very much. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. And I really, really hope we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.